Hi there, my name's Vincent, and if any of you followed this channel in the past, you'd know I haven't really put any videos out for quite a few years. I think it might have been 4 years now. But been busy doing other stuff, and due to the whole sort of being stuck in lockdown, I thought I would get back into the YouTube thing. I've started doing a bit of tuition. I thought this might connect with that quite well. I'm thinking about doing some online tutorials, explaining stuff, whether it's audio, video, film, management, marketing, all the stuff I do. I'm going to talk about how I do it, why I use the gear I use, and hopefully that'll be helpful for some people. What I'd like to start with is really just explaining a little bit about who I am and how I got to where I am and what I'm doing and why, because it's not the most conventional career I've got, and a lot of people are trying to break into sound engineering and filmmaking, audio production, video production, and it's all stuff I do on a daily basis. And I get asked by a lot of young people, you know, how do you get into this? What do I have to do? And I think the rules have all changed. And in my day, there was no college courses or university degrees in any of this stuff, really. Certainly not in sound engineering. And that's what I wanted to do when I left school. I wanted to be working in a studio, mixing hit records. That's what I wanted to do. I got really lucky. I taught myself as a kid in the 80s how to do the basics of record production. I was just had a tiny little 4-track studio in my bedroom, and I used to teach myself the techniques needed to sort of at least start that. And then I got quite lucky. I sent off, like, I think it was about 100 letters, and I got a few interviews, and I finally got a job at a really cool studio in West London. And on day one, I was working with the big stars of the day. I mean, to be fair, I wasn't doing anything audio related to begin with. I was sweeping up, I was making the tea, I was hoovering, I was zeroing the desk, I was cleaning stuff. I was going to get people takeaways in the middle of the night. It was a bit of a crazy introduction to the job, but it was necessary. That's how you did it in those days. It was called being a tape op, and you went from there to being an assistant, and then eventually you'd move on to being an engineer. And the way you used to learn was you just sit in as many sessions as possible and you'd watch. And some engineers were really cool, and they would tell you what they were doing, and they would give you tips, and that's how you would learn. So my introduction to the SSL was watching other people use it, and just watching really carefully what they did and trying to work out why they did it. And sometimes the artist wouldn't be there, and that would give me the opportunity to talk to the engineers and find out why they were doing what they were doing. But it wasn't like now, where you can go online and you can get a tutorial about how to use a compressor. I used to watch them set a compressor up to do a job, and I'd say, why have you done it like that? And quite often they would just say, well, that's just what you do. And it was up to me to work out why. And you know, sometimes when they left the session, I'd mess around with the gear and mess it up and see why it was done like that. What would happen if it wasn't done like that? So that was how I learned. That's really not how things happen these days. But as I say, I got lucky. I did that for a number of years in different studios. Eventually became a sound engineer in my own right. Worked in various places, freelance for a while, worked for lots of different artists, mixed lots of different records, recorded quite a few. I've always been more into mixing than recording. I do both, but mixing was always the thing I enjoyed the most and the thing I was best at. I still do it now. I work here mostly in my own studio, but sometimes I'm in other places. Mixing is what I do. I mix records for people. I love it. It's, as I say, I think I'm pretty good at it, and people agree, therefore I get to mix their records. At some point in the late 90s, the whole sort of freelancing sound engineer thing had died off a bit, mainly because studios were closing down. Everything was moving into smaller setups, which were going into sort of places run by the people that needed them. Artists would have their own studios, whether they were at home, in small premises. So I was looking for other things to do, so I started branching out. I made a few music videos, and then in around 2007, me and some friends had a bit of a crazy idea that we'd make a feature film. Only experience being making literally 2 or 3 music videos. So we made a feature film. It was called Shoot the DJ. I wrote it in a week. We thought it was going to take 6 weeks to film it. It took 2.5 years. 2.5 years to finish it. That includes the post, but we did everything ourselves. We were running a small record label at the time, and the idea was that this would be cheaper than paying a PR company to PR our acts. We'll just get all their music on this film, and we'd make the film about the label and all the people involved. It was a crazy film. It's had some of the worst reviews you've ever seen a film get. But that said, it got picked up for distribution. It took a while. It was a year after we finished it. I'd put it for free on YouTube. And I think it was one of the first full films, British films anyway, on YouTube. Because in those days, YouTube had a 20-minute limit. And they let us put the whole film on there. And we just gave it away, I think. And it was about a year later, I get a phone call from a distributor saying, we want to buy your film. Which was madness, because a couple of months later, it was in all the supermarkets. Every time I went shopping, I'd see it on the shelf, and it was charting higher than some really big films, which was a massive buzz for us. But at the same time, it was terrifying, because we knew this film was awful.
Drug culture, it's everywhere. It's intertwined with the music. So if we thought we couldn't sell tunes, we'd sell drugs. It seemed like such a good idea at the time.
But that said, it was the most fun I've ever had. Out of everything I've ever done in my career, making that film, I don't think I've ever laughed that much or had that much fun or looked forward more to going to work in the morning, because that was just crazy amounts of fun. Just me and a few mates making a stupid film and just having the time of our lives, getting away with ridiculous stunts and pulling in every favour possible. It was a load of fun. But at the same time as I was doing that, I was still touring. I was doing a lot of... I guess I forgot to mention that in the late 90s, around the time I started making videos, I also started doing live sound. And that took off in a big way for me. I started touring the world really, and as we moved into the early 2000s, I toured America so many times I can't remember. I've toured Japan I think 4 times, Australia, New Zealand, all of Europe many times, and I was doing that right up until the pandemic kicked in. That was one of my main things, was a live sound engineer touring, and that ran alongside making films and doing studio work. So my career had already sort of gone off in these different directions. Related but not the same, but overlapping skills, which is kind of what I want to take this YouTube channel in the direction of. So a few years after that first film, because it did all right, I was able to make another one. I was able to raise the money and we made a horror film. Bit better technically, it looked better, it was better lit, we'd learnt a lot. Making mistakes is the best way to learn, always. And, we made so many mistakes on the first film that the second film was considerably better technically, still had massive script issues, plot holes, all kinds of issues aside from the technical side, which was okay. Again, we got lucky, got picked up by a distributor in the US. That led then to a couple of years later doing another one.
Life's not a game. Everyone I know. Kill him. Kill him. Every single person I ever met. I used. Do it! I lied to. I took advantage of.
Sort of scaled things down a bit. Me and my mate Johnny, we decided to make a film on our own, just the two of us, with no crew or any of that. And suddenly that was possible because equipment had all shrunk right down, and we had a very sort of tight story location wise, so we thought we could do it. We got really lucky that the amazing Stephen Burkoff agreed to play the baddie in the film, so that was a big coup for us.
Life's not easy. You don't live, you survive.
Tiny little cast, everyone did a pretty good job. I think it was another step up again, but it's not until you finish these things sometimes that you see the problems, and there were more problems. It did get picked up for distribution by the same firm as the horror film in the US, but by this stage They were having issues, and then not long before release, somehow it leaked onto the internet, and we know who leaked it because the version that leaked wasn't the final version, didn't have the final audio, wasn't the final edit, and we'd only sent that copy to one person, so we know who leaked it. But anyway, that killed it dead, really. For about a week, it was the most pirated film on the internet. So that was that. That was called 7 Cases, by the way, that film. After that, me and Johnny decided to do a web series for free, just as an exercise, really. We bought some more advanced gear, and we just wanted to do something to see how that would enable us to make the next film. So we made this short 4 10-minute episode web series. Which we went to Norfolk to shoot. I was really happy with that. Again, it's got a few issues, but less issues. Each time we're nailing things a bit better. Much better emotional sort of content, much better sort of technically. Audio was much better. Johnny did an amazing job writing the music. So that was okay. And then where did we go after that? That was kind of it. And then in 2017, I made one more feature, which was a very insular feature, just set in one flat, basically. It was about a soldier with PTSD and agoraphobia, and that just went to a few festivals. It actually did pretty well, won some awards and stuff, so I was quite happy with that. Haven't done anything since, apart from music videos.
Everybody wants to get with Matilda. Tell her what you want, you know she'll believe ya. I know we're not going home. Everybody loves Matilda. I know she's not.
Done countless music videos, and that was kind of spread all throughout that. And obviously while all that was going on, I'm mixing records for people and I'm touring, and so fitting all this stuff together, it sounds chaotic, but it's not, because touring is you're away, you're home, you're away, you're home, and when you're home you want to get on with stuff. So that was kind of how I was doing it. I was either touring or I was here shooting movies or editing them, or there was always something going on. And obviously when you start acquiring the gear you need to shoot movies and series, then you could use that to earn other income. So I was also shooting adverts. Whether they're web ads, or me and Johnny flew to the States and filmed a bunch of sort of promo ads for a company. We got to work with the LAPD SWAT teams, which was, I mean, that was crazy. That was another one of those things you just don't expect to happen in your life.
Project 7 is available with a variety of different ballistic packages, ranging from Safariland's new SX Level 3A package to the military-derived PX01 package, specifically built to provide both handgun and fragmentation protection. Project 7 is available with removable upper arm, groin, and throat protection, which allows each operator to tailor their coverage to their individual mission profile.
But that was great. So I've had this strange career where it's been bouncing between music production, really high-end music production, and then this much lower indie level of filmmaking. And then at the end of 2016, I started a new company doing artist management. And that came about just because one of the artists I've been working with for 20 years, their manager retired. And I thought, you know, I think I could probably do that. And I think all these skills I've got would probably really work for that job. So that's now kind of like my day job. I'm an artist manager for a pretty big artist, and we tour and We record records and mix records, and we make videos. And obviously along the way I've had to learn Photoshop, and I've had to learn all these other skills in order to do these things that I'm doing. And all of that stuff makes doing the management job much easier, because I don't have to hire people in. You know, I take the photography, the promo photography, whether it's for posters or album covers, I take those photos. I edit them, I shoot the videos, I direct the videos, I edit them, I mix the records. It is a bit, you know, write the theme tune, sing the theme tune and all of that, but it makes that job possible, and it makes it fun. And for me, it's like I've finally got something where I can use all my skills. So I enjoy that. But obviously, 2020 came along, and that was the end of the music business in many ways. It kind of touring stopped. We had a lot of gigs planned. Obviously, none of them happened. Whether 2021 is going to be any better, I really don't know at this point. Things have changed. I moved, and when I moved, I thought, well, do you know what? I've got all this gear and I've got all this time, and although I'm still working, there's not as much to do. So I started doing tuition. I'm teaching people how to mix, basically how to produce music. Haven't got into the video and film side of things, but I'm going to offer people that, because, and this is key, and this is what I want this channel to be about. I was talking to a friend of mine, Dan, a couple of months ago, and he runs part of the audio production degree course down at Buckinghamshire University. Amazing. If you want to get involved in that, that's the way to do it now. You will learn so much from him and the people that run that course. But he was basically saying what he tries to teach his students, which I think is key now, is that you don't have to just do one thing anymore. And if you do just do one thing, you're probably limiting yourself to the amount of work you can get. And the people that get employment and keep getting work are the people that can do everything. If you are a really good sound engineer, you're going to get work. But maybe not as much work as what I was getting 20 years ago, because it's not there. People learn to do that stuff themselves these days. But if you can become a really good sound engineer, and you can also shoot videos to a professional level, all of a sudden you're twice as useful. If you can edit them, if you can mix them, if you can Photoshop, the more skills you have, you become like this super all-rounder that is really useful to people, especially creative people and artistic people. And at the end of the day, that's who we end up working for, doing these kind of things. And whether you're the creative or whether you're just the technical guy behind them, you're going to be worth so much more if you can do more of this stuff. And the only way to learn is by doing it, cracking on with it, or by watching tutorials, or, you know, meeting someone like me or Dan or other people I know that are prepared to share that knowledge. Because as far as I'm concerned, none of this stuff should be secret. And it seemed like that to me. When I was a kid and I was starting out, I would talk to people in the music business. They didn't want to tell me anything. It was all a bit like a closed club, you know, no one was allowed in.
Your name's not Dan, you're not coming in.
No one wanted to tell you the secrets, and that's balls. I'm not up for that. I think everyone should be allowed to learn this stuff, and it just makes it more interesting. The more people that are out there doing stuff, the better this industry is going to be. So that's what this channel is going to be about, and I'm going to try and release videos every week at least, you know, and maybe I'll do a tutorial on compression. What is it? Why do we compress? Why are different compressors better at different jobs? EQ, same thing. How, why, what different makes sound different? Why do we use them in different ways? Reverb, delay, spatial stuff, all that stuff that might be a bit of a mystery to you, because these days you get a copy of Logic or Pro Tools or whatever you're using, it's got everything. It's got everything you need without you spending any more money to mix a record to a professional standard. But those mixes aren't happening. People aren't doing mixes to a professional standard in their bedroom, not because they haven't got the tools, but because they haven't got the skills, and the skills you can learn. And you know, I see it myself. People are just grabbing EQs and compressors and messing around trying to do different things and get it to sound how they want it to sound. And I'm sure they make some really interesting sounds. You know, I've heard some mixes which are pretty wacky and interesting to listen to, but they're not going to get used because they failed the ultimate test of just sounding right. You know, and if you submit a mix to a record company, they need to know that when they press it, whether it's vinyl or whether it's going to an MP3 or whether it's, you know, just going to a CD or whatever, that when you play it on like 1,000 different systems, it's going to sound good on all of them. And you know, that is something that you just have to learn by learning some rules. And with anything, once you've learned the rules, you can start breaking them a bit. But those skills are teachable, and you can learn them, and hopefully you can learn a lot of them here. So come back, see what's up next. don't know which one I'm going to start on, maybe compression, I guess. But we'll also do filmmaking. You know, once we've covered a bunch of audio stuff, I'm going to mix it up. I'll teach you how to shoot a music video. I've shot loads of music videos, got millions of views. It's possible. Those skills aren't impossible. It's just stuff you need to learn. So there you go. Subscribe if you want to, like. Be great to hear what you got to say in the comments, and I'll be back with another one of these really soon. See you later.